Today, we're talking about some super easy and delicious meal prep. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I am talking meal prep with you guys. I absolutely love sharing meal prep with you, and I feel like I stress this every single time, but I try not to go too over the top with my meal prep. If I feel like it's something too complicated, or if I feel like it's too detailed with too many ingredients, then I get discouraged and I don't want to pull it out and I don't want to do it. But I find that meal prep just makes my weeks so much easier, and I don't necessarily do it all on the weekends, or I don't do it all on a Monday or all in one day. Any time that I have an opportunity during the day to do something to make our lives easier, just to set it up instead of doing it in the very moment, I find that it just creates so much ease in the kitchen for us. And any opportunity to make our lives easier, I am all about it. So I have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to share with you guys today. Things that are super simple, like just adding flavored extract to Rice Krispie treats, as well as my favorite muffin recipe. And we're even assembling a super easy baked ziti for the freezer that we're going to eat on later on in the week. So come along with me. I'm going to share with you some of my favorite super easy meal prep. So I think I'm going to start off with the most time consuming but the most important, and that is cleaning our produce. One of the things that I love to use is this Veggie Aqua fruit and veggie wash. I did do a sponsorship for them back in the day. This is not a sponsored video, but I really enjoyed this stuff, and I find that it's super easy to clean my produce. So I have my salad spinner here. I put blackberries, raspberries, blueberries in there. I gave everything a good spritz down. I'll give it a shake. I'll spray it again, and I let it sit for like 10 minutes, and then I run cold water over it and wash all of the fruit and veggie solution off, and then I'll put it in the salad spinner, get all of the excess water off, and then I'll lay everything out on a dish towel and I'll let it air dry until it's good to put back in the container. Now this Veggie Aqua stuff, it really is quite amazing. It's like ionized water. They sell it right on Amazon, and I have it linked in my Amazon store below, but that ionization in the water makes all of the dirt stick to it. So it's pretty amazing what comes off after you spray your fruit down with it and then let it sit and rinse it off. And I found these awesome containers that are also linked in my Amazon store that I store all of my fruit in, and then into the fridge they go. So those are the berries. The strawberries were still sitting, and in the meantime I decided to make some Rice Krispie treats, and I have been sharing these quite often, and I know that Rice Krispie treats seem like something that is truly not complicated or necessary for a video, but why I like sharing it is I've learned that a couple of steps in the order that you do them have changed the flavor, and for me it's the extract. So I have some raspberry extracts here that was a game changer for my family, and they absolutely love that I've been changing the flavor profile of the Rice Krispie treats. So I put a pan onto the stove and I put 4 tablespoons of butter down into the pan until it all melted. I added 1 tablespoon of the raspberry extract, and then 3/4 of a bag of mini marshmallows. And you're just going to go ahead and you're going to mix that all up until it's completely melty. The original recipe calls for 6 cups of Rice Krispies, but I usually just go back and forth. Like this was all that I had left, so I just dumped the whole container in this time. And then you're going to dump that last 1/4 bag of the mini marshmallows on top, and then your super hot solution, put it on top of that and mix it through. And make some of those marshmallows that you put in towards the end stay whole, and it really makes a gooey texture later that doesn't happen if you melt all of the marshmallows at once. With some parchment paper on the bottom of a 9x13 pan, I placed our Rice Krispies in there, and I took a good long while to make sure that they were even throughout. You don't want to cut your Rice Krispies and have them be weird. And then I just put a little sprinkles on them and into the fridge. I ended up cutting them up and I froze some, and then the kids ate on some for lunch. Our strawberries are now cleaned and dried, so I went ahead and put those in an OXO container in the fridge for us to eat on for the week. Next up is some banana muffins, and one of the favorite things about doing this banana muffin recipe is that everybody loves the banana muffins a little bit different. Some like them with chocolate chips, some like them with nuts, some like them with both. I actually really like my banana muffins with a few dashes of blueberry inside. The blueberry banana is a great contrast in flavor, but how are we going to go ahead and please everybody? So I make a banana base and then I put it into the little cups, and then I go back and individually add to each cup what I want, whether it's chocolate chips or blueberries or nuts, and I mix it right then and there so that we have a variety for everywhere and you don't have to split it a bunch of times in the bowls and make a mess. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and you're going to go ahead and mix that up, and we're going to set our dry ingredients aside. I try to omit the salt out of my recipes. I know sometimes you really need to add it, but I try to avoid that. In a separate bowl, you're going to put 3/4 of a cup of oil, 1 egg, and 1 cup of sugar. I do have the original recipe for this. I shared an entire video on just making these muffins, and I found this. It's a derivative of a Starbucks copycat, so I'll link the original recipe for you guys down below. Now we're going to take our dry ingredients and we mix them in with the wet that we have, and we put that off to the side. And now it's time to mash our bananas. So you want 3 as super ripe bananas as possible, and you're going to mix them as much as you can, but I leave a little chunk. I happen to really like the chunk, and you'll be able to see it when the muffin cooks up. It's so delicious. So we'll add 2 tablespoons of milk and then 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then we're going to go ahead and mix that up. And you can see that it's creamy, but it still definitely has some of that banana texture to it, which is just going to change the whole dynamic of the muffin when it cooks up. So now we'll take that wet mixture and we'll add it to our 2 components that we've already combined together. And then that's it, you guys. It's such a yummy, delicious, and pretty basic banana recipe. Gave it a little taste test, gave it the stamp of approval, and now we're just going to go ahead and put it in a muffin tin. So I'm just using these pretty like spring liners that I had. I snagged these from the Dollar Tree, but I will say that grabbing yourself some silicone liners probably would be the best if you're going to use these like at home for your kids' breakfast and stuff. The silicone liners work great, and I have some linked in my Amazon store as well. But now that they're 3/4 of the way full, they don't puff up as much. I did 8 with chocolate chips because I know how much my family likes the ones with chocolate chips. And then I just took a butter knife, and you can see that I just pretty much make sure that those chocolate chips are tucked underneath our batter so that when they bake up on the inside. And now once we've done that with the chocolate chips, I added some of these sweet and spicy pecans from Trader Joe's. Those are for mom, and I made sure that those were specifically for me because I really enjoy the nuts, especially again that sweet and spicy pecan, such a good flavor against the banana. And then the rest I added blueberries because Mason and Maya really love when I put blueberries in the banana muffins. And then that's it. I went back with my butter knife and individually mixed them all in. I did end up getting 21 muffins, which I thought was pretty good out of our batter, and then I baked them for about 15 minutes on 350 degrees. Everybody's oven is different, but look at those chunk of banana inside of that muffin. Like I said, it adds such a great texture. This is the pecan one. This what happens to be my favorite, but they were so delicious. They freeze fantastic, and they're perfect for a breakfast and great for meal prep to last for throughout the week. I even used it for my kids' lunches. Something else that I use for my kids' lunches when we do something like breakfast for lunch is we've been enjoying bagels in the air fryer. The kids like the bagels, but they really like these little bagel minis that I've been making that I stuff with cream cheese. And the ratio to make these bagels are so easy. I do it right in the air fryer, and it's a 1 cup of self-rising flour to 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt. That's it. You're going to mix that all together and you're going to roll it out. You'll baste it with a little bit of egg, and then you'll top it with your favorite seasonings. That's it. I like I said, air fry them and they come out amazing. So I have my cup of self-rising flour in this bowl. I mixed in the cup of yogurt and then I dumped it out onto my countertop. That was well floured. And you're just going to go ahead and you're going to keep working it until it feels like dough consistency. I will say that the last time I got Greek yogurt from Walmart, I'm not even sure if it was Walmart's brand. It may have been, but I think it worked a lot better with the flour and the mixture than this Greek yogurt from Trader Joe's. It still worked and the flavor was there, but I think it was easier to work with the yogurt that came from Great Value, just as an FYI. But you're only going to get 4 pieces out of your dough. Once you have it all rolled out, you cut it into 4 pieces, roll yourself a snake, just like you did when you were a kid, playing with Play-Doh, and then you're going to connect it into a circle. I put it on my air fryer rack. Like I said, I basted it with a beaten egg, covered it with seeds, and then off into the air fryer that it goes. I bake them on 375 degrees for about 17 minutes and they came out perfectly golden brown, which you'll see in just a second. But while those are cooking, I worked the other half of the dough because that was a 16-ounce container of yogurt, 2 cups. So I knew I could make 2 rounds of dough. And I took I have a measuring cup that measures like tablespoons and stuff. And so I use that little round glass and I almost did it like I was making biscuits, just so I can have enough to have a top and a bottom. So once I was able to get enough top and bottom out of it and I made enough pairs, I lined them up all together. And then as you can see, I'm using this onion chive cream cheese from Trader Joe's, and I just put a smear of cream cheese on one of our dough circles, put another circle on top, and then just went all around the edges and sealed them. And I just went ahead and repeated that until I ended up with 9, which I thought 9 was pretty good out of one set of dough. I did this last time, but we only did it with a few. I really wanted to see how much I could get out of each batch, which means I could get 1.5 dozen out of that 2-cup yogurt container that I got from Trader Joe's. So at least I knew for the future I could gauge the yield on this, because this is going to be something that my kids are never going to let me not bake. It was super easy. Like I said, perfect for meal prep and something that I could put aside for breakfast, for lunch, or just breakfast in the mornings. It's something Jake's been really enjoying, to take 2 of these on his way out the door for work, and they're perfect. I put them for 30 seconds in a paper towel in the microwave and then put them back in the air fryer for 5 minutes, and they end up toasting amazing. And I did the same thing. I egg washed them and seeded them and put them in for the same amount of time. You can see here are the bagels that came out of the air fryer while we were preparing those, and then I went ahead and put those in, and look how beautiful they came out. Some of the cream cheese did pop out in a few places, but they just cooked up so amazing. Like the bottoms were perfectly brown, and like I said, they reheat really well. So these were definitely a good option for meal prep for moving ahead for the week. Something else that I do probably about once a month is make ranch dressing. So many of you ask for this recipe over and over again, and I share it in almost every single meal prep because of how crucial it is for my family. Once I started making this, I've never bought another bottle of ranch, and all you need is buttermilk, mayo, granulated garlic, some ranch seasoning, and some pepper. That's it. I based this entire thing on a 2-quart container. It's pretty much a 1-quart ratio of 1 quart of buttermilk to the rest mayo, and then you mix in your seasoning. So I find the best way to do it is to take our 2-quart container and then put 1 quart of buttermilk into the bottom. And then now we're going to mix our seasonings in, because it's a lot easier to mix the seasonings into just the milk. So I put a 1/4 cup of ranch seasoning, 2 tablespoons of granulated garlic, a whole ton of cracked black pepper because I really enjoy that. And then I take a big whisk and I whisk that all together as much as I possibly can. And then now you're just going to add your mayo, and you're going to pretty much add that to your desired consistency. Some may like a little thicker ranch dressing, some like it thin, but you're just going to see, I ended up going back and adding a little bit more just because I wasn't crazy about the consistency. But once you go ahead and you get it all mixed thoroughly through, I put the lid on, and it lasts, like I said, in the fridge for about a month, and it's better than any ranch you'll ever buy in a bottle in the store. Something else that's better than you can get in the store, hands down, we always can buy those over the counter, like it's a pharmacy, over the counter or in the store bought those egg sandwiches, right? But nothing is better than assembling them at home, and they're pretty easy. I get the croissants from Costco. My family loves when they're on those croissants. And then we made a ham, and this was the leftover ham that I didn't use in the soup or for sandwiches, and we just chopped it up, and I knew that I wanted to add it to some eggs to make some breakfast sandwiches for meal prep. I got this Tillamook cheese from Costco as well, has Colby Jack and Monterey Jack, and these croissants, they are the perfect size to give yourself a good egg sandwich. I have 10 eggs here, and then I have a little bit of cooking spray that we're going to spray the bottom of the sheet pan with. That's how I like to cook my eggs, and a little bit of milk because I feel like milk definitely helps make your eggs good and fluffy. So I put all of my eggs in a bowl, and then we're just going to go ahead and add a little splash of milk. I feel like milk really helps make your eggs get light and fluffy, especially when you're baking them in the oven. And you're going to want to whisk them as much as you can because you really want to aerate those eggs because you want them good and fluffy. And then into that bowl, we're going to go ahead and add that ham, and we're going to mix it through. And then I have this huge industrial size sheet pan. I think my mom got it on Amazon. I'll ask her, and if she did, I'll link it in my store. But this thing is perfect for things like this. So I put that cooking spray on there, and then I dumped our egg mixture. I did make sure to use a spatula so all the ham was evenly distributed through the eggs while it cooked up. And then I took wax paper sheets while it was cooking, and I cut up our croissants, and I already added a slice of cheese. I only do one slice of cheese, and I fold it in half so I can put it side by side on the croissant and make sure that every bite is going to have a bite of cheese. And then I do that to all of them and stack them up on that wax paper and put them off to the side. So our eggs are still baking, and now I'm going to tackle some waffles. So this is a Dunkaroos mix that says it's only for pancakes, but I've never had a pancake mix that I couldn't turn into waffle mix. So I dumped the entire bag into the bowl, and then I added one egg. I added a half a cup of oil, and then I added 1 cup of the buttermilk, and then I just went ahead and I whisked that all together, and then I put that off to the side because very similar to those eggs, the key to making those light and fluffy waffles is to let that batter aerate. So I have that off to the side. Our eggs are done now, and with a pizza cutter, I went ahead and cut enough squares of egg that equal the amount of croissants that I already had prepped. This way, all I had to do was take our little ham and egg squares and add them to our cheese and croissants, and then I fold them up in that wax paper, and I just repeated that till I was all done. These freeze amazing, and I reheat them by unfolding them from the wax paper, rolling them in a paper towel, and putting them in the microwave for 1 minute. That completely defrosts them, and then I'll stick them in the toaster oven or the air fryer for another 2 minutes or so, and it's perfect that way. Our waffle iron is now hot, and our waffle mix is good and fluffy. So I went ahead and filled the waffle iron with that Dunkaroo mix. I was a little disappointed. I know that the box wasn't very big. It wasn't supposed to yield a whole lot of pancakes, and any kind of mix yields way less waffles than it does pancakes because it takes a lot to make a waffle. So I didn't get a whole lot out of it, but the Dunkaroos was very good. Very sweet tasting, similar to the Funfetti. It did come with Dunkaroos frosting, which I put off to the side and saved because we weren't going to use that. We were going to freeze these, but I did add a little bit of butter to the half waffle that I got and gave it a sample, and it was so delicious. And I ended up loading up our ham, egg, and cheese croissants and then our waffles into gallon size storage bags, and I labeled everything, and then off into the freezer it went, which is just perfect because every single one of the family members absolutely love having breakfast meal prep. We won't even just have it for breakfast. Sometimes it'll be a quick dinner option or a lunch option. Everybody loves having a stocked freezer full of breakfast. Something else that everybody loved in our last recipe that we're sharing for today is my baked ziti. I do this way different than most people would make a baked ziti. I layer this very similar to lasagna, and this time I used a few different key ingredients, but I wanted to make my weekend easier. I knew that we had a bunch of stuff going on like Disney on Ice, and stuff coming up, and I figured by prepping a baked ziti for later on in the week would end up being key for us. So you're just going to need 1 pound of pasta cooked. I have 4 cups of shredded mozzarella here. I have 1 cup of the cheddar parmesan mix that I get from Trader Joe's. I have a 3 pounds container of ricotta cheese, 2 eggs, some parsley, some granulated garlic, some salt and pepper, and then in the back I have a Tupperware of my homemade sauce that I froze, which is going to be the key to an absolutely delicious baked ziti. I have a whole recipe video for my sauce, so I can link it up above, but it's also in my first cookbook that I wrote with Vanessa and Nicole, and it's one of my favorite recipes to share because it's something I feel like I've mastered over the years. So I just defrosted this sauce. I put a little bit at the bottom of the pot, like 3 good labels, and now here's my pasta that's been cooled. I love to do the pasta, cook it, and then cool it because then I can peel it apart and make sure that none of the pasta stick together. By me hand touching it, I just touched every piece of pasta with my hands washed, of course, but it was separated. So I made sure every noodle got covered with sauce. So once I did that, I put it off to the side. In another bowl, I added our container of ricotta cheese, both eggs, 2 tablespoons of garlic, 1 tablespoon of parsley, 4 ounces of that unexpected cheddar that I get from Trader Joe's, a couple of good turns on the salt and pepper shaker, and probably about a cup of mozzarella. And you're going to mix that all together, and it's going to make that really creamy and rich, delicious, smooth texture that we're going to layer in between our noodles. Now, most people, they mix their baked ziti stuff all together, put it in one pan, top it with cheese, and stick it in the oven. I don't do that. I do mine very similar to lasagna. I have a 9x13 pan here that I put a little sauce on the bottom. I added half of our pasta. I added half of our ricotta mixture, and then I added a sprinkle of that unexpected cheddar and some more mozzarella, and then I repeated the process by doing the pasta and then a whole nother set of layers. And I really like to do this because I find that when it bakes together, it really just gives an even distribution of all flavors. If you just kind of dump in everything together, it turns it into what my family used to call pink sauce, something similar to like an olive vodka without the olive vodka, which is great in concept and it tastes really, really good, but I like the pure distinction of flavors. I like a good bite of the pasta with a really delicious meat sauce. I like to run the pasta through my plate and pick up all of that yummy, creamy ricotta mixture that was on the inside that oozed into my plate when my pasta is good and hot and I've taken it out of the oven and it's creamy and all over the place. It really just works out to be the best the way that I do it, just at least for me and my personal preference. And I highly suggest anybody who makes baked ziti to give it a try this way and see if you can notice a textural difference to eating it, because I find that this just creates such a creamy and delicious baked ziti. We're going to take a piece of parchment paper. We're going to lay it over the top of the pan, and then we're going to cover it with saran wrap all the way around. That's going to help with freezer burn. And then we're going to layer a couple of pieces of foil over the top, and then we're going to defrost that completely, and we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then we're going to have some yummy, delicious baked ziti that I served with bread and salad, and it was fantastic. But that, you guys, was it for another meal prep video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up. If you are new here, I'd love for you to subscribe and stick around. I do try and share a meal prep about once or a month or so. Make sure you guys check that description box down below, because I'll have the links to my Amazon store if you want to check out any of the things that you've seen here, or I will have links to any Pinterest recipes or videos that I have that may help you recreate any of the delicious things that I share with you guys today. But all right, you guys, that's it. I hope everyone had a fantastic week and an excellent weekend, and enjoy your week ahead. I love you guys all so, so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, you guys.